So looking at this, we're going to start to get into a little bit of interaction. And I showed this before, this clock moving out. Now that you've had a little bit of processing experience, you can look at this and say, okay, without even knowing anything about what's happening, we see 3 rectangles. Each of them doesn't have a fill. Each of them is moving based on some sort of external thing. What that external thing is the hour, the minute, and the second. So inside here, I'm gonna copy and paste this to a new sketch and get rid of the timing stuff. So with this, what I've done here is in the same way that you declared random equal to a value, equal to a variable. I'm doing the same thing with the built-in capacity for hour, for minute, and for second. So using that same sort of principle within the for loop, what we can do is say rectangle with a, let's put it at 100, 100, and let's give it a width of the hours, because this syntax here says make the integer of h equal to the hour. This says for the integer equaling m, make that equal to the minute. For the integer of second, make that equal to second. And if we look at the reference for this, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, hour. Hour gives you, it's the English version, or the non-US version, because I think almost everywhere else uses this, of 0 to 23 hours. Minute is 0 to 59, 0 to 59 for seconds, because there's 59 or 0 to 60, but we don't ever see the 60. So here, what I'm doing is saying rect equals 0 to 100, or equals 100, 100 at the position there, with a width and a height equal to hour. So we should see one that's equal to, what hour is it? It's 3 o'clock. It's gonna be super tiny. All right, so we see one there. Now let's duplicate this and do the same thing with seconds. Because remember, seconds is now equal to s, and minute, because minutes is equal to m. So this is the syntax that you write if you want your variable to equal something. Now if I do this, we should see they're all on top of each other. You can't see anything. So let's move this over. Let's put this at 200, and let's put this at 300. So we see that one all the way on the right, slowly increasing. It makes sense, right? Yeah? Is this tripping up anybody so far? Okay, cool. So when that one on the right gets super big and it goes to 60, so if we're at the next minute, it should get really small again and start over. So this is like your super, super simple clock. All right? This is like your most boring, it's not that boring, it's actually kind of cool, but like it's your most basic form of a clock that you can do. One thing I want to introduce is this idea of mapping. And it was what I had in the other version. What mapping does is it allows you to tie a certain value and reposition it. So for this, I want to take the value of this hour, and because these are all scaled kind of weird, right? Like 24 to 59 to 59, those aren't like on equal scales. They're all kind of like all over the place. There's no sort of thing that ties them together. So I want to come up with a system that ties them together. And that system is going to be the whole width of the document. So what I can do is say, come up with a new variable that's going to be a float, and it's going to be new hour equals map, and map is a function, and so I want to take the thing I want to map, which is h. So I want to remap this variable of h to be, what's the minimum value of h and the maximum value of h, based on what we saw earlier?
0 and 59.
23.
0 and 23, cool.
Turns out.
So then I put in here 0 and 23 as the second two variables, because 0 is going to be the minimum of what this one's equal to and the max. To reposition it inside here, I'm going to do 0 and the width of the entire document. So then I can take this, copy it, but also give myself that, do that, and do that, and I'm gonna do the same thing, but new min and new second, like that. And then inside here, new hour. So one thing you'll notice so far is, I don't want that yet. Keep that as min. One thing you'll notice is that this is not right yet, because this is not 23. The lowest value for minute should be 59. And this, I want to remap it to the value of m, because I want to remap this value. Same thing with s. I want to remap to the value of seconds with 59. And so I'm going to take those values and let's put in new min, new sec, new sec. And so if I do this, it's going to be remapped to the entire space of the document. So let's see what happens when I do this. I know I'm forgetting one thing. They're all based on a relative size. So it's getting bigger. One thing you'll notice, why is it constantly getting black there? It's like continually drawing on itself. Is there one thing I forgot to do that I haven't declared yet?
Where you'll position it?
That's one thing, so I haven't positioned it yet. That's the big thing I haven't forgotten, but what else? What do all sketches need to have?
Fill.
The background.
Background. All right. So it continues drawing on itself because it doesn't have a background. So let's give it a background of 20. Actually, let's do 2. So now we'll see that's going to actually move instead of drawing on itself. But they're all positioned kind of weird. So let's put them all in the middle. So let's say rect well, the easiest way to do this is to use a translate. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And remember, translate, I can just use once to move everything to the center of a space. So if I do translate width divided by 2, height divided by 2, it'll put everything in the middle, like that. So then we start to get that image of the clock going forward. Now with this, we could also have the hour and the minute affect the color. So we could say, for this one, stroke is going to be related to seconds, right? Or second, 0, 0. They're all being affected by that color. So maybe I'd want something like that. Or I could remap it to 0 to 255. So it would be more proportioned to working within color than it is to space. Second, this one would be min, this one would be second, and this one would be hour. So all working on different scales of red, although if I actually made maps for them, it would be much more appropriate. Is this starting to make a little bit more sense? Or is this making sense?
This makes more sense than the last.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
understand
This
this
is
way
like
more
easier.
than I do.
The rest of it.
Then the for loops?
Yeah.
That's cool, that's exciting, okay. So like, so one thing, so that's interesting, just as like a note, this idea, time is constantly moving, right?